Time for Party Scoopers One Scoop. Today is we are here with Craig Robinson from the Iowa Republican, and what, 9 and counting? Is that the latest?
9 and counting.
9 and counting for people.
I think we got about 9 more to go, right?
9.
It's 9 officially now that Lindsey Graham has thrown his hat in the ring, so to speak.
It's I mean, we started this a few months ago, and it's like every week there seems to be another one join. What's interesting, though, is we're still waiting for the big ones to announce. I mean, Jeb Bush hasn't announced, Scott Walker hasn't announced, and I think those are the final 2 to fall. But
which amazes me, as we were talking a little bit in the break, a new poll came out in the Des Moines Register saying that Scott Walker is, 7 points ahead of everybody else. Now, this is a man who hasn't even officially declared,
right,
although we're all assuming that he will. But polling this, what I consider early in the game, do these numbers even
I
mean
wrote
anything?
an article for this morning that kind of breaks down the polling. When you look at the Register, has a lot of credibility because when their final poll comes out right before the caucus, they pretty much nail it. But that doesn't mean that the previous polls line up.
They're testing the water right now.
I went back and looked at polls done at this time in 2007 and 2011 that show. I mean, Mike Huckabee he didn't even register. He was a candidate, but he didn't even register in the Des Moines Register poll at this point in 2007. And Rick, I mean, we had, Rick Santorum was, I think in last place. The only person he was beating in 2011 at this time was John Huntsman, who said he wasn't campaigning here. And so, I think you got to be careful. There's things you can learn. So, 4 years ago at this time, Tim Pawlenty had this big Iowa organization built, and there was a lot. I mean, he was focused and committed to this state, and the poll came out 4 years ago, and it showed him in 5th place. And everyone said, whoa, wait a minute. And so that we learned from there that there was trouble there. We also, 8 years ago, we learned that John McCain and Rudy Giuliani, the national frontrunners, were very much in trouble in Iowa at that time. So when this poll comes out, we can glean some information from it. Jeb Bush is in trouble in Iowa. He's in trouble in a lot of states, to be really honest with you, that there's just not this, for someone with the name, with all the money that he's raised, he's not a national front runner. And they're really going to have to dig down and find a way to revitalize that campaign. Scott Walker, there's a lot of interest and intrigue out there, but again, he has to convert that into actual support. And so we'll see. I mean, I think that, I never like to take an early poll and look at the candidates at the bottom and write them off, because it's really a lot of name ID and a lot of perception on what these candidates are before they actually come to the state and start to campaign.
And speaking of polls, will there be an Iowa straw poll?
Well, I'm really nervous about it. I know some people are bullish and say, of course, it'll go on. I think a lot of it depends on Scott Walker, to be quite honest. I think if he participates, then I think that you can make a case as to why this would be interesting. In second place in the Des Moines Register poll is Ben Carson. And so if Scott Walker, who's in first place, participates, all of a sudden, I don't think that is a matchup that a lot of people are talking about. But in Iowa and the straw poll, based on current polling, that could be an interesting battle.
Would that be strong enough to support it?
The straw poll? Yeah, because I think once you get Walker, I think there's a lot of reasons for other people to play, and then you're going to have 6, 7 candidates participate in it, and it would be interesting. If he doesn't, there's 2 ways that he can say no. It's almost like a governor when they, you can veto something, or sometimes you can just slip it in the drawer and not sign it, pocket veto. So Walker can just really run the clock out on the thing, since he's not an announced candidate. And so,
what is the deadline?
we don't really know. I mean, as someone who's organized the event before, by late June, early July, you got to start, you're signing contracts and financially committing yourself to some pretty big liabilities. So I would say, by the end of this month, you better know who's playing and who's not.
And if it doesn't happen, what then?
If it doesn't happen, I think, look, if it doesn't happen, I think there's a huge PR blunder for the party, and I'm afraid that hurts the caucuses, because the national media will feast on news like that.
Can they pull the plug at this time or not?
I don't know. I mean, I think that if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't look like the Boone straw poll is going to happen, then I think Republicans in Iowa are going to need to build some sort of alternative to the event pretty quickly. And I think it's possible, but it takes a little creativity. So we'll see. I don't think we're quite there at that moment yet.
So are you jumping on a Harley and heading out with Joni Ernst?
You know, I'm not much of a motorcycle guy.
You look like a Harley kind of guy. Yeah.
A trike maybe, but
We know the people in Ames or in Altoona. They can hook you up.
yeah, and they would say, we don't think you should probably ride this. You know, I'm not a motorcycle guy, but you know, I am going to the event. But the fascinating thing to me is the event, the pre-event that Rick Perry has created. He's going up to Perry and doing an event for the Puppy Jake Foundation, and he's bringing in all of these well-known vet, Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor guy, the widow of Chris Kyle is going to be there, and they're doing this raising money for the Puppy Jake Foundation, which provides service animals to wounded veterans. Great organization. And so for me, I'm actually going to Perry to cover that on Saturday morning, because I think it's maybe one of the more interesting things that's going on that day. And then I'll go to Joni Ernst's event from there.
Event up in Boone.
In my Subaru Outback.
Just curious. We'll get you a sticker you can put on. Say my other vehicle's a Harley. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Or a John Deere lawnmower.
All right. Well done. Good job, man.
All right,